Welcome back to Desert Island Slabs, the hobby podcast where we delve deeper into the collector and the psyche of collecting. I'm James, My Sports Compendium, and every episode I invite a different guest on to take us on a journey through their collection. The guest is given a task to pick the 8 items in their collection that they would save above all others, that they would take, that they would rescue, that they would preserve if they were being banished, if they were being marooned on a theoretical desert island. My guest this episode is Christian Panaretos. Christian is a medical student based in Queensland, Australia, and Christian is a passionate multi-sport collector with a focus almost exclusively on tickets. When I decided I wanted to do something resembling Desert Island Slabs, going on 2 years ago now, I think, Christian was one of the first people I messaged because I knew that I wanted to have him on the channel. I love his collection. I wanted a Pana Slabs, so I'm so honoured to have him on. Christian, how are you doing?
Splendidly, yeah. Really happy to be here, James.
Yeah, and so obviously, I mean, I think you've seen the episodes and you kind of know what we're going to do. We're going to have a big moment, but you've had a while to think about this in many ways, because like I said, I think it was 2 years ago, I messaged you about this, and we obviously knew each other from the Discord, from the ticket Discord, but in compiling your 8 items, what went through your head? What did you have to think about when you were making your own personal selection?
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually found the whole process pretty rewarding. I didn't realize how much I'd actually sit down and think about why I do this, as much as I actually did. So when I did start choosing, the first thing that popped into my head was, it's going to be impressive, or what are people going to enjoy? And really, that's not the point in what you do. And when I had a bit of introspection, it's not the reason that I collect tickets either. I love my big items just as much as the next person, but there are some that mean more to me than others. And I guess we'll go into the reasons why. But the main thing that really stuck with me, or the main reason I collected certain tickets and have bought these particular 8 on a show, is because they either represent a part of my life, or a characteristic that I think I have, or something that's really personal to me that makes me me. So, I guess we'll go into them, but I found it very rewarding, and hopefully these 8 tickets are representative of different parts of my life, really.
Exactly, and I think that's a common theme with guests, in the sense that they almost want to take something that represents each different, or like 8 different compartments of their life in many ways, whether that's
Absolutely
job related, whether that's family related, whether it's friends related, whether that's anything. And then they want to, because then ultimately, even though there is a bit, it's not silly, but they're the 8 items you have to take to the desert island that have to sustain you and entertain you and give you some sort of joy for the rest of eternity. So
absolutely,
yeah, and so yeah, I mean, the first item is someone I do associate with you and your collecting, because I know you're a big fan of his. So shall we have a chat about your first item?
I'd love to.
So
the first item that we'll be talking about today is, I've actually got all the items with me. So it's this one here. So it's Lewis Hamilton's first F1 victory.
Very nice.
It's actually signed by Lewis in black pen. It graded a 9, which I was super happy with. It's actually, out of any ticket that I own, the highest grade for a ticket. It's not a 9 auto, it's actually a 9 stub, and then just got his authentic autograph. But it's definitely a piece that is super important to me. I absolutely love it. Was thrilled that it got the 9. I thought it looked good to the eye, but was stoked.
It's an amazing grade on the ticket. I've never graded a ticket of a 9 ever. I think I have got I think I've got a few sevens. I think that look good, and then they just. It's always like this. Sometimes the corner is a bit like dinged or something, and then that you can tell
Yeah.
it's like you're going to get a 7, but a 9 is incredible. And yeah, I mean, why does Lewis Hamilton inspire you? Why Lewis Hamilton? What is it about him or this item that makes Christian tick?
I think, yeah, Lewis, I mean, it's a story that most people are aware of, and can probably resonate with. The first black driver to enter F1, that in itself would have been a big enough achievement. You know, I think in anybody's book, he could have made it, stopped, and everybody would have tipped their hat to the man and gone, "You're a pioneer, you're a legend." But the fact that he not only did that, but in my opinion, I love Schumi, but in my opinion, became the best Formula One driver ever, just makes the story even more remarkable. It's a testament to his, determination. He persisted. He's not like a lot of the other F1 drivers, whereby he relied a lot on nepotism. He had some pretty humble beginnings that he makes very known on social media. Something I absolutely love. Yeah, I'm just a big fan of it. I myself have taken a long time to get into the career that I want to enter medicine. So I'm not going to say the struggle was the same. It's not. I'm very fortunate. I have an amazing family. But just his determination and persistence to sort of get what he was after is something that I think is a super good role model to have and to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is Lewis Hamilton someone then that growing up you really were always were you always a fan of F1? Were you always a fan of Lewis Hamilton? Like, is this a long-standing sort of thing for you?
Yeah, so Dad's kind of ensured that we were always fans of F1. Some of the earliest Christmas presents I can remember were F1 models and remote control cars. So we always had an interest in Formula One. I can't say that as soon as Lewis entered, I loved him straight away. And that's mostly to do with the fact I didn't know the story. Wasn't a McLaren man, didn't love him from day one, was indifferent, didn't know much about him. But learning about his story, really just loved him. Absolute legend. Yeah, can really aspire to be like that, I think.
And then, because I think this is kind of what I've said before about things with, because when I entered, obviously I had like at the time 30 years of, well, not quite 30 but almost 30 years of like exposure to stuff. So when I entered, it was this absolute just blast of things that I searched for. So for instance, I was looking for like David Beckham items straight away. I was looking for Bobby Moore items straight away. I was looking for Wayne Rooney items straight away. Was that when you entered the hobby? Did you go straight to Lewis Hamilton and F1 stuff, or did it take a bit more time? How did you start collect? How did you basically? The question I'm asking is, how did you sort of transfer your love for him and F1 to your hobby? Was that an immediate process?
So I guess, like most people, and I've heard similar stories from your guests, I was a card guy rather. Around 2022, I started seeing posts from the man himself, the legend of our Discord, Lucas, about tickets, and I thought, oh, this is a rather interesting avenue. Might be something worth getting into, and cards weren't really cutting it for me. I hadn't done it for ages. It was something I picked up as a bit of a COVID hobby, 2019, 2020. I was into my cards and, thought I knew absolutely everything, buying things that I thought to the eye looked amazing quality, and then getting grades back and being disheartened.
Like what?
So I went pretty hard on like Copper America stickers, thinking it was different. They weren't Panini. They weren't, tops. They were different. They were from South America, and little did I know at the time that every man and his dog in South America hoards boxes of them under his bed. They were anything from far from rare. Just getting folds on the back that weren't disclosed in photos and feeling pretty ripped off. And I don't know, it was just a negative experience, really. It was fun, don't get me wrong, and it was definitely something great to do during COVID. But I think when Lucas opened my eyes to it all, the more questions I asked and joined the hobby, it was kind of right up my alley. But getting back to your question, I guess the reason I give the background is the moment I entered, I thought, what things do I want? and I scoured the Discord really and had a look at what people were showing. It was early 2021, so it wasn't that long ago in the scheme of things. I'm not
No.
I'm one of the OGs really. I came pretty late, I think. I had to convince my brother and my dad of how great tickets were, and now everybody in the Discord has to deal with them. I'm sorry, but I thought, what do I want? And I wanted to be different. Tickets itself were different to cards, so I thought I want to be different. I don't want to stick with the status quo. And there were lots of soccer. And a lot of American collectors had some basketball and some NFL as well. I thought F1, it wasn't really explored at all. When Tugberg was in the chat, it was pretty much myself, him, and Vav that were posting a lot of the early F1. And it really kind of fell in my lap. I loved F1 as I mentioned to you, but I was also aware of the fact that the first race of the year for many years has been the Australian Grand Prix. So I essentially thought, and it turned out to be the case, that I had access to a largely untapped resource, being local Australian marketplaces. Lewis was one of those people that did debut in Australia, and not only because of the man he is and the traits he possesses, but he also holds a special place for me in the hobby because it was kind of the first time that people stopped and thought, oh, who's Christian? Who's this Panacollectables group in Australia? Because I found a few of his debuts at the start, just from looking at those local marketplaces. And I think at that point, people were like, oh, these guys in Oz are getting different stuff. Lewis is a big deal. He's one of the GOATs in F1. If they're finding stuff there, that's pretty cool. So not only the man he is, but the fact that my Lewis items are the first time that people stopped and took notice and led me to meet a lot of people and chat about F1 and then make friends in the Discord is another reason he holds a pretty special place.
Yeah, and this one as well, but somewhat ironically as well, this ticket, your first item, if you won't mind just bringing it back up again, Chris, and we'll obviously bring it back up. But this is not an Australian Grand Prix. This is his first victory, isn't it? So this is the Canadian Grand Prix from 2007. And how did you acquire this then? How did you get this ticket?
So this was actually an eBay lot. Like many people, I have some saved searches. And this one pinged. And one of the reasons I loved it, not only was the fact that it was his first win, but he wrote 7 underneath. I'm not sure whether you can see. It's actually probably easier this way.
Yes,
yeah. 7 there. And Lewis's autograph has progressed over time. We had the full autograph, which is very different to even my one there from 2007. Prior to 2007, he had he actually used to write out his full first and last name. It looks like more of a traditional signature than the squiggle he does now. We went from that original long full name autograph to then the LH7 to then just what we see now, which is, again, the most abridged version of all. So I like that it kind of fits in that chronology as well of almost Lewis's fame and realizing that he now needs to sign more autographs than he probably has time in the days. And that was at the point where he would still write the 7 underneath. So that was another reason why, even though it's not an Australian one, it actually meant a bit too, because it set it apart from a lot of the other Lewis items.
This ticket was already signed within the lot then, was it? Or
it was already signed. Yeah. There was 2 of them. I have that one, and it was sold in a lot of 2. The other one graded an 8. This one graded a 9. I said to myself that I would sell the 8 to help fund, other adventures, because I thought I really only needed one. I just can't bring myself to do it, so I have both. The 9 is obviously higher, which is the reason we're talking about the show, but they held a pretty special place. So, I think I'm pretty happy holding both.
Yeah, it's an amazing item because obviously sometimes if you are able to get an item signed, it's cool when it's sort of like a signed item that you send in, and I do like getting stuff signed. I think sometimes I've questioned how much I like it when I see how much some people like it, and I don't like it as much as them, in my opinion. Yes. But I do like it. But I think the fact that these were already. Do you know any context about the story of how these came to be signed? This ticket? Did you ask the seller, or were you just like, "I'm having what happened with this?"
This particular seller, no. I always like to get a backstory, and I have a few good ones on the tickets coming up, but this particular seller didn't share. I did ask because I always like to know. I think actually makes them harder to sell and move on when you do know, because you have that attachment finding out the origin story of them all. But yeah, I'm not sure on these ones, but going back to a point you just made then, those tickets that sort of people are big on are the ones you try and steer clear from, was a point you just made. I think that's the reason, one of the reasons why I'm showing you a Canadian '07 instead of an Oz 2007. As much as I love it, and it taught me how to scour local marketplaces and go through social media and look at all different avenues, it is one that is on every collector's list, and a lot have been found, not just by myself and others, but the Canadian tends to be a lot rarer, his first win. I've seen, I think pop count, even non-signed, is a handful. It's under double digits still. For me, that's a big thing. So I think that's one of the reasons why that's here and not a debut.
It's an interesting point as well, because I think it's sometimes not the fault of the item, but sometimes ubiquity can become like this enemy in a way. When you see this item so much, I mean, I've said it. Stuff like say Messi Mega Cracks 71 bits. It's an amazing card, but it's like, do you know what I mean? At one point, I really wanted one, but now I want one less than I ever have, because I feel like I can see it. You know what I mean? I'm able to see this card, this item quite a lot, and that maybe makes me want it a bit less. And when something is so ubiquitous, it almost, familiarity breeds contempt to an extent, and you don't, not quite contempt, but you know what I mean. It's just, you want something a bit more unique. I think
it fits in with the fact that we are ticket collectors, doesn't it? Moved away from the cards, try to be niche. So the moment something becomes a bit more mainstream, you just try and steer clear. It seems to be what we're like. But I do feel that too with certain tickets. Doesn't take away from the respect I have for them at all, but it takes away from maybe the desire to own it.
No, exactly. I feel the same way, and that goes perfectly into the next item, actually, Christian, because obviously you love Lewis Hamilton. You are a Lewis Hamilton collector, an aficionado, but then, you know, the actual Grand Prix components of things are nice, but then sometimes if you really, really love someone, you really, really want to collect them, you want the kind of left field items, which we've spoken about before with other guests and their picks. So this, I guess, is your more left field item, symbolic of your love for Lewis Hamilton. So should we have a chat about your next item?
For sure. It fits the theme, and I thought it would actually fit in well from the first card into the second, being the same athlete. But it's more because of what this ticket is and the fun little story behind it. And it's one of the reasons I love tickets, and we'll get into that in a bit. But I will introduce it. It is Lewis Hamilton Crashers Charity Auction Go-Kart ticket, which was also the launch of Vodafone mobile internet in the UK. Wow. Super random. I'll show it here. It's another one that has the little 7 underneath, which I rather like. And we have the classic guest Vodafone pass. And I mean, we can see up there, it's a 4. And it's signed by Lewis. Completely blank backing. It just would have been handed out for guests at the event. Do you mind if I give a little background on what the event was?
No, that's why you're here. It's not going to be like, we're just going to... Item 2. This is a simmer prep thing. This is not an ad, by the way. I just had it there. But item 2, I think, right, 10 minutes, bye.
We're TikTok. Not speed running it. I love that.
Desert Island Slabs, TikTok, baby. No, I want you to go into detail, Christian. That's why you're here.
Excellent. So, the event itself was a Vodafone mobile internet launch. And that's all it was advertised as such. This is another eBay pickup. But the reason it's signed by Lewis, and it's a milestone of Lewis, and I'll chat to that in a little bit, but it's not the reason I got the ticket so much. This ticket represents, as I said, like all my tickets I'm supposed to, either a facet of ticket collecting that I love or an aspect of my life that I'm passionate about. This is more a facet of ticket collecting that I love. The obscurity, the research, the free reign to make titles that you can support with literature And PSA and BGS have no choice but to nod and say, well, it has to go on the slab because it happened, didn't it? This is one of those. So when I found it, it wasn't advertised. It had nothing to do with the infamous go-kart crash. It was simply advertised as a Vodafone mobile internet launch pass, where Lewis was as part of the promotion, and he'd signed it. It was during his rookie season, 2007. So he was still very much a fresh face, didn't have the superstar status that he does now. And I thought, that's interesting. I like Lewis. I'd want an autograph of his. I'm going to have a little bit of a Google about this internet launch ceremony. Lewis was clearly at it. Maybe something happened. The moment I Google it, there's countless articles about Lewis crashing a £20,000 go-kart, a custom-made thing that was meant to be as part of the charity auction for the Vodafone mobile internet launch. And I thought, that is absolutely hilarious. He's not the superstar. He wasn't always the man about town, the cool dude that we know now. He was clumsy like me and like the rest of us. He was a nobody at the event, obviously an F1 driver, but nothing compared to what he is now in terms of status. And he's crashed this go-kart that they're going to auction off. And they had to sell it crashed, which I just found hilarious. So I backed it up with my literature, I sent it off, and sure enough, I've got Lewis Hamilton crashes go-kart on the slab title, which I just think is absolutely hilarious. I love the fact that nothing like that will probably pop up. But I most of all love the fact, it might be the science background, that you can truly research so deeply and get such unique slabs and titles out of our hobby. It truly is a case of you get out what you put in on the research front. I love that.
Yeah, and it's actually like, because I think it's a good point, because again, maybe not quite as cerebral as your item, but I remember maybe, 2021, there was a time when people would often not be critical. They actually know what they would be. They'd be quite critical of PSA and things, in sense of, oh, PSA didn't do this, didn't do that. So when it came to my first ticket submission, I was sort of thinking, well, will they be all right with stuff? And the one I remember was Remember the Name, Wayne Rooney.
Classic.
And I really thought, but then they were so like amenable to it. Then I was like, actually, this is amazing, because you don't just want Everton, October 2002, Everton 2, Arsenal 1, Wayne Rooney first Premier League goal. You don't want that. You want, well, I wanted Remember the Name, as I think most people would that want that ticket. And that they put it on the slab. And that was the moment where I was like, actually, they will. Like, Kung Fu Kick was one that I wasn't the first person to grade it, but that was another one where it was like, oh, will they do it? Is it depicting violence? Is it that sort of thing? And it's kind of like they were very amenable to doing that and posting. And those are a lot more well known than this very cerebral and interesting event. And I looked up as well, and it's that go-kart still sold for quite a lot of money. It was like 88,000 or so. It's still sold for a lot of money, that crashed go-kart.
Yeah. The fact that they had to auction it after he crashed, I just found hilarious. Between round 7 and 8 of the F1 season, this rookie has just made an absolute blunder. I love it. And I mean, it's subjective, right? I liked the event because I found that hilarious. And I thought it was so different and unique and niche. But if I loved the fact that it was a milestone in terms of technology and it was the launch of mobile internet for Vodafone service in the UK, I could have slapped it at that, and it would have also made the title.
Yeah.
But it's subjective. That's what I love about our hobby. A ping on a corner of a card, that's objective. You're going to get a crappy grade. But I can choose the title I want for this thing. And that's something that I love. That sort of freedom is so damn good.
It's a very interesting event. And I guess you probably just had some sort of ping of a Lewis Hamilton, some version of a Lewis Hamilton search, and then you go and, see the event it was. And it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, because it's a nice pass. I'm not going to say it's not my favourite visual item that you're going to present in this episode, but it. But I'm not being nasty.
It's a surfboard. It's the size of my head next to it.
Yeah, but it's the story that's with it. Is it really quite interesting and astounding, and one that I'm not familiar with. I'm sure it would have made the Daily Mail website at the time, like, oh,
Yeah.
Hamilton hamming it up or something like that, like.
Yeah.
But it's a great item, and it obviously
And that's
made
the
me
thing.
have
It's
a
more
look
what
at
it,
this.
yeah, and it's more what it represents. That item itself. Do I adore it? I think it's cool. But when I have that on my desert island, it represents more than that. It's the freedom to choose things. It's the subjectivity of ticket collecting. It's more than just what that item is. It's a reason I really love ticket collecting. I
Yeah,
love the chase. I love finding out more about my athletes that maybe I didn't know, and I didn't, but you find it out. So
yeah,
it's a facet of ticket collecting I really do like.
and it's a differential. I spoke about this with Fav in the very first episode, like his Usain Bolt Central Coast Mariners debut.
I love that ticket. I went looking for that. It's such a good ticket.
Yeah, it's like a differential. It's just it separates from other collectors, other collections, because it's like this is something that's really different for that athlete, but also very unique to them at the same time. And that's
100%.
what it takes on a whole new life. And yeah, I feel that with I had this conversation live with Fav about the Bend It Like Beckham World Premiere ticket that he traded and gave to me. I feel similar feelings with that, in the sense of it's just quite a unique item, not as unique as this one, this guest pass, admittedly, but it's a very interesting. And also, what I love about this item as well is sometimes as well the hobby, because it's stuff that we collect that's really close to our heart and things. Sometimes we're quite serious almost with it. It's quite serious, but this is a bit silly, and I like that.
It's taking the mick, yeah.
There's a silliness there, and there's almost like a stupidity there, which I really really like. And it's a perfect pairing to the first item, which is objective. It's an amazing item. It's a graded 9 ticket of his first win of something that appears very infrequently. That's amazing. But then you've got this one as a kicker, showing us a different side of Lewis Hamilton, and it's a bit stupid, and it's great. And as a pair, they kind of quite work as like, this is someone that really loves Lewis Hamilton. This is someone that really enjoys collecting Lewis Hamilton. This is someone that's done a very deep dive on Lewis Hamilton to really construct and compile a collection, curate a collection that they're proud of and other people really enjoy looking at. So yeah, I love this item. I love this item. It's definitely, yeah, it's one of my favourite items that you're presenting, actually. Today, because it's just funny. It's made, when you sent me this a few months ago, it just made me laugh, actually.
Well,
And
that's
then you
it.
obviously,
I'm on that desert island. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I'm going to get a laugh, aren't I? It makes me smile. I find it
no,
funny.
exactly, yeah. It's just it's funny, and it's right as well, because you also mentioned about it's sort of like a transection and a between the sports and the pop culture type things, and when they kind of cross over, and it's always very interesting, these types of events and things. I always really enjoy them, and yeah, and that goes into the next item as well, which is again one of the biggest music, so pop culture, one of the biggest pop culture icons, I would say, of the last many years. So shall we have a chat about your next item?
Sure. So the next item is it's a PSA 10 autograph. So I didn't really like the look of the ticket itself. So the autograph graded a 10. I just did an auto only grade. But it's an Elton John 2006 concert at Durham Cricket Ground. And Elton's actually signed the pass. It's a lovely big autograph
Yeah.
on the pass itself. And yeah, we can see, I don't know if you can see, but we got the little title there. I love this pass for a few reasons. So I can thank the group, mostly Fav and Stu as well, and others, for introducing pop culture to me. I love pop culture, I love music, love concerts. To be able to have that love and explore that interest and hobby in ticket collecting as well is something that's really exciting to me. Once again, the ticket itself, it's an autographed Elton John ticket. It's not a first, it's not a debut ticket, it's nothing special, but it's more what the ticket represents. That's why it's on this show. So pop culture is something that I'm finding more about in terms of ticket collecting, but is also becoming a bigger part of my collection as the years go on. I can say that now, it's crazy. I've been doing it for a little bit. So I'm having much more pop culture tickets. And I thought that this was a nice segue into pop culture as one of my first tickets because it actually has Elton wearing cricket gear.
Yeah.
So we see Elton, looking like an opening batsman there, which is very fitting because the concert itself was at Durham Cricket Ground. So he got in theme, he got in the full whites, which I just find hilarious. And I thought it was a lovely mix between the two things that I really like, pop culture and sport. The eye appeal was awesome to me, and that's an aspect I haven't talked about in tickets yet either. So this also represents that facet that I really enjoy. That eye appeal is just, like, it's so cool. Like, I look at that and I love it. The big cricket ball, his autograph on top, him in the whites. Eye appeal is really cool. It almost looks like, a piece that could sit on a wall or a desk, like art. I love that side of tickets too. So, yeah, not only the pop culture side of things, but the eye appeal and the fact that tickets can be very pretty and quite appreciate looking at them and having them around. Yeah, and it's a nice one.
So, Chris, are you an Elton John fan then, or how?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, mum and dad's CDs at the time, you don't think they're amazing. You want to listen to anything but they stick. I do like Elton. Yeah. He actually came recently at his. I think he's had a million final concert tours, but he has his Yellow Brick Road, and I didn't manage to go because I was overseas at the time. But yeah, I do like Elton John. He's very, very cool.
No, yeah, I love the fact. Was it a coincidence? I mean, have you seen other tickets from this tour, or was it like that he specifically did this photo for this or the cricket ground? So I don't know if he played at like Old Trafford or something as well, or is it just specifically for the Chesterley Street one? What kind of? Do you know anything about this tour? Or?
So it's funny you say that. When I found that ticket, I wanted to know the answer as well. Is this something he does depending on the grounds he plays at? Does he also get into character, per se, based on the arena or oval he's at? And my numerous searches of keywords, Elton John, cricket, rugby, sport, ticket, pass, stub, anything, this is the only thing I can find. I've even found raw, non-signed versions as well, but that's the only search result I get being from the same event. Durham Cricket Ground pass. Funny story behind it, actually. I found it from a Google image search. When I wanted to get into pop culture, I thought about the artists that I really liked. Elton John was one of them. I also love his connection to football as well with the Bees, big Watford man. So love that side of him as well. I think that's super great. But it was actually a Google image search. I typed in Elton John ticket, signature, autograph, and it was advertised on a website with a catalogue, like a pamphlet, like a guide for the concert. And the guide is also cricket themed. It's got the oval in the background, and he actually signed the pamphlet as well. So one day the goal is to grade that just authentic autograph with the official guide of event program. Maybe put them in a frame together next to each other because I think that would be super cool. But when I got it, a little insert piece of paper with the program and the ticket was a little A5 piece of paper, and it said, "Congratulations, you are the BBC Radio winner. Please accept your prize of a signed Elton John ticket and program." So somebody won the BBC UK prize and received this. So I just thought that was a really cool story as well. I felt like I won the prize. I had to shell out for it, so it's not quite as fun, but I think it's great.
No, it's really cool. And it's really, I mean, because you've got him, but then you've got the cricket ball as well. It really is a really nice ticket to look at, and it kind of it's interesting because now with ticket, I mean, I haven't been to many concerts recently, but this kind of really reminds me of, I remember seeing bands like Bon Jovi, Foo Fighters in the mid-2000s, and they had amazing tickets. I remember Foo Fighters at Hyde Park. They had this amazing ticket. It was so stunning to look at. I don't have it with me, it's my parents. but it looked so good. It just
Yeah.
it was amazing. It was actually like a beautiful ticket. It was like kind of matte and it like gold. And this is what we said. I had no idea I was going to talk about Foo Fighters and stuff. I don't even like Foo Fighters very much. That's the irony. I love Nirvana. I don't actually like Foo Fighters that much. But this ticket was stunning. It had like a gold foil on it. It was so good to look at. And now it's sad. I think e-tickets have obviously ruined that a bit, but but this one is amazing. It's so good to look at.
Yeah, and even, the old lost ticket trick to get those e-tickets printed out. They're very quick, minimalist machines as well with, hardly any interesting designs. So that's another part of it that I love. It really speaks to that era of the late 90s, early 2000s, really funky ticket designs.
Yeah.
I really like it. I think as well about other ones like there's an Allen Iverson die cut ticket, the little, like all the perforations in the borders. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I saw a really cool one that it's kind of like, it was a Rolling Stones ticket from the 1970s or something, but it was the shape of like the lick and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Like it was really cool actually.
Big tongue.
Yeah, it's amazing really. And yeah, some of them, and it's a shame. Maybe we will get back there because there are still some paper tickets, but it's just not, because even if I think about going back to mid 2000s Manchester United, and some of them weren't, but I remember the 2006-2007 season had amazing, like, it was amazing. It had like gigs on it. It had Duncan Edwards, Bobby Charlton. You've maybe seen this ticket. I'm trying to think of popular matches in that season, but
yeah, I've got a ticket actually from that. I think it was Wayne Rooney equaling the Manchester. It wasn't when he broke it, but it was a home match where he equaled the Manchester United all-time goal records. And that's got that design. I love it.
That's the
I'm waiting for a signing.
I remember that. That's like the 2000. Yeah, I remember that. That's like 2015, 2016, because that's got the Holy Trinity on it, I think. And
Charlton is definitely on it. Yep. Amazing design.
Really, really nice. And then sometimes you get really boring ones, but this one's definitely not boring. And it's just interesting with Chester Lee Street, because it's this Durham cricket ground thing. When you say it, it's amazing, because basically in 2000, the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You must have it in Australia, and it was a huge deal in the late 90s and early 2000s in England, like a huge deal, and no one won it for a while. And basically, the record was, I still remember this so vividly. And I played international cricket captain a lot. So the record, the guy got to 500,000. This was a new record at the time. And it was which count, and the £1 million question, we were watching it, is which county cricket club is based at Chester Lee Street? Now, and he didn't know it. But I was 10 years old, and obviously I played so much international cricket captain. I know that's Durham. So it's so funny, because now, 25 years later, I still remember, whenever I see Durham Cricket Ground, Durham County Cricket Ground, I always think of that £1 million question in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I think that could be my £1 million at 10, 11. Yeah.
It would be like, because, I wouldn't have been able to get anywhere near that 500,000 in the first place. But when he said it, we were watching it as a family. We used to watch it as a family. Before the answers come up, it's Durham, because of international cricket captain. You saw like all the stuff all the time. So yeah, and I see that.
Bit of a nostalgia hit.
Yeah, no, exactly. So you chose this item, Durham Cricket Ground, and then my mind goes back to watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with my family, and that answered Chester Lee Street. So
yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and so I think the question I wanted to ask a bit is, because you said more and more you're kind of transitioning to pop culture, and is that because you feel that you've kind of achieved what you want to an extent with sport, or are you just broadening your horizons in general, or what? Take me through your thought process.
I don't necessarily think I've sort of achieved what I want to in sport. I love mini sets, like mini collections, ones that sort of we can make complete sets of seasons or player milestones. There's still a lot I want to do there. The transition into pop culture was more to expand the collection, and I think I'm a bit of a history nut too. Like I do constantly like learning about events and just new facts, and pop culture exploring is a way to do that. We chatted before about that Lewis Hamilton go-kart pass. That's an aspect I would never have known about in Lewis's life if not for deep diving and researching through tickets. So that's another thing that pop culture really allows me to do. Not only broaden my ticket collection, but broaden my horizons in terms of world facts, interesting events, stuff that I find interesting that I probably wouldn't have known about otherwise. There are some pretty cornerstone events that, objectively speaking, people appreciate and respect. There are other ones that can hit closer to home that I really have an appreciation and respect for. And I think delving into pop culture makes me not only learn about them, but appreciate them as well. So I think, it's going to continue to be a really important part of my collection moving forward.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's amazing. I do like pop culture items. I kind of have a select number that I would pursue and things like that. I don't think I'm quite a big pop culture collector, even though I like I'm trying to find favorite film premieres and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's not like huge global events and things. It's not quite something that I've looked at. It's not really something that I think takes me.
I find the topic to be quite divisive, and I think that's a good thing. I love our hobby, the fact that it really is different strokes for different folks. I love that. But yeah, even more of like the more sinister ones. I know we've chatted about it in Discord a bunch of times. Even stuff like that, like pop culture itself as a stream of our hobby is very divisive, I find. So I think that's also why I like it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and it's amazing sometimes when you see these tickets and things, and Marilyn Monroe tickets, which we won't talk about, but sorry, Stephen, if you're watching this. I don't want to get doxxed with anything or sued, so I'm not going to say.
He's a legend.
Yeah, sorry, Stephen. I'm sorry to bring that up. But yeah, no, I kind of, for like world premieres and things, I'm looking for a bit. Some tickets, like specific tickets related to bands that I really enjoy, but kind of overall pop culture is not something that I've looked. But I do really enjoy looking and seeing that kind of thing. But I've got my Premier League sets to finish. And on that note, if anyone has Leicester Watford 2015, could someone please just give it to me? Because I am just really want to finish that Vardy run, and then I can just stop worrying about it and I can actually do my life and do my job, because I spend so much time worrying about that ticket. But anyway, let's move on. Now, I love Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy. And, and I also have to mention Mario Balotelli in every single Desert Island Slabs episode. So this is my mention of Mario Balotelli. They're two players that I absolutely love. But they probably don't quite have the gravitas of the players that we're going to speak about in the next item, who are objectively very, very famous. And one is arguably the most famous footballer of all time, possibly. But so should we have a chat about your next item?
Certainly. So the next item is a ticket signed by both Pele and Zico, so a couple of Brazilian legends. The ticket itself is Pele's Flamengo debut. Not going to be a person to bring up the age-old debate of a friendly versus an official competitive debut. It is a friendly match for those watching.
Please, no.
So yeah, it's Pele's Flamengo debut. It was a charity match, so friendly. But Zico also scored a hat-trick in the match, so I'll show that one up here. It is in a Beckett slab. It is graded a BGS 1. It's very worse for wear. You can see on the back as well. Looks like stains that have come through, but some very nice prominent autographs there of Pele and also Zico. So it's a nice one. I actually found the item raw and unsigned on Brazilian Marketplace. And the reason this is in here, beyond the fact that it's very, I just think it's an amazing item. And like you said, objectively, I think that most would agree with that. It is on here because I appreciate that it is a big item, but it's more the journey to get the ticket to where I wanted it to be. That's why I love it. It has a story. Yes, really quickly. I bought it raw. Like the Lewis Hamilton, I didn't know the significance of the event. Wasn't looking for it because of the event. The more I Googled in Portuguese, I got Brazilian search results, which discussed, the first day that Pele pulled on the red and black stripes. So, pretty iconic event that he played for Flamengo, even if it was a charity match. Zico actually gave Pele his number 10 Flamengo jersey to wear. And Zico wore number 9, which was a big deal because Zico owned that jersey. He's an absolute legend and very famous for it. So I loved that side of it as well, that really personal touch, that connection, that story between Zico and Pele. It did start its life as a PSA slab, this one. But PSA, love PSA, but it didn't have the level of detail that I wanted on the slab. The story I just told, the fact that it was Pele's debut, the fact that Zico gave up his jersey, the fact that Zico scored a hat-trick. I wanted all of that on the slab because I think that's all important. So I eventually converted it to a BGS. But there was a Zico signing that was posted in the group, so he was the first one to sign the ticket. And then I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to get Pele? This was very shortly before he passed away. It was one of the last signings he did. Tragically, his autograph is very shaky. I'm glad I have it. I just wanted, autographs from the great man. But if I actually hold it this way, you can see it's rather shaky.
Yeah.
I think it was about 6 months before he passed. I don't know how many more signings he did, but it was pretty late. It was actually through my brother. It's not a secret. If you Google Pele signed tickets on eBay, you can find the group that does them. We had a connection with them at the time. We don't anymore, unfortunately. But they were doing Pele stuff, and we needed to trade a whole bunch of stuff, a lot of Pele items to get that back. And I was fortunate enough to do that trade, to get that Pele auto before he passed. But that story of acquiring it to then get each of them to sign it, before he passed is, beyond the fact that it's an amazing ticket, most of the reason it's on this, it symbolises the journey that the ticket took and that I took it on to get it to where I wanted it to be.
And so then, Christian, did you grade it initially, or signed, or did you grade it raw, unsigned, and then you had an opportunity to get it signed, or what happened with that?
So I was pretty hell-bent on getting it signed while it was raw. Thankfully, I didn't need to crack it. I didn't find the connections after it had all been done. I found those before it had been slabbed. So it was actually slabbed with both autographs in a PSA slab. But hat-trick was abbreviated to HT, and debut was DBT. And there was no detail about Zico giving up his jersey number 2 Pele. And I just wanted that level of detail on it. It's a ticket I want in my collection. It took me a long time, like I said, to get it to where I wanted it to be. Absolutely love it. But I just wanted that detail to read out in full, unabbreviated terms exactly what happened. So it was the main reason.
I think it's nice as well because you said the match has the sort of, it was a charity match, or in many ways it was like it was for a big flood or heavy rains or something. So that's another nice component to it as well.
I guess when I was looking at it, almost 250 people died in this flood, and obviously, football events like that are so much bigger than football. But in saying that, it was a big thing for Pele to pull on, the rivals' kit, and just the fact it was for, a really great cause speaks to the character of Pele, and it just tells more of a story about him, and I like that.
It's a great item. It's a really nice item. And was it? Did you just like find? So were you looking for this match? Just looking for this match, or you just found some old Brazilian tickets, or what happened?
Yeah, so hopped on, Brazilian local marketplaces. That's why I like this ticket as well. It represents another facet of ticket collecting, and that's learning ticket and pass and autograph in many different languages and finding auction houses you didn't know existed. It's very fun. But I was really just looking for matches that Pele played in. So I was searching the era, 70s, trying to find, that's actually later because it was a charity match, but just trying to find the era that Pele played in, finding tickets from matches that he was involved in, because the name, he needs no explanation or introduction, does he? But I was just looking for significant items that he may have been involved in because I really wanted him to be a part of my collection.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, because the next item is again a Pele item, isn't it? So, it's another Pele item, another signed Pele item with another interesting story to it, which I'm interested to talk about, actually. So, shall we have a chat about your next item?
Most definitely. So, the next item is a 1996 personal pass for the Euros. The pass belonged to Pele. That was his pass. You can see he was Mr. Pele on the little pass he was given. This one graded an 8. I'm not sure if that's so the pass itself is an 8, which I guess is less impressive considering it's plastic and not paper. Not as impressive as the Canada pass for sure. But so we've got Pele on the front next to his name, and then on the back, he's actually signed it twice. He's got Best Wishes Pele on the back. So we've got a nice little greeting on the back, and then just the normal Pele on the front. But the photo's rather cool as well of him all suited up. Just speaking to this ticket a little bit. Obviously, a big item. But once again, the story that the seller told me about how he acquired it just made it so damn cool. And it also introduces, once again, a facet of ticket collecting that I love, and that's personal passes. Being a medical student, as you introduced at the start, I just don't have the cash flow to go all in on like signed jerseys and match used jerseys. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And maybe one day down the track I can, hopefully. But in ticket collecting, personal passes offer for me a connection to that athlete. At one point, maybe they wore this. This belonged to them. It satisfies that like game used kind of craving that I couldn't afford. I got very lucky with this. This was just a safe search that popped up on eBay. I wish I would have more interesting stories about how I acquired some of these, but I think a lot of them are just right place, right time. I was actually on holiday visiting family in Greece, and it was an ungodly hour back home in Australia. So I was bored and searching eBay, got the ping, and I was like, "You're kidding." So I messaged the seller after I just bought it now because I loved it. And thankfully it was a price point that I could justify at the time. But, I mean, it's incredible. So I wanted to get more information about how this seller actually came to get this. And it was a fun back and forth. He was lovely. The seller actually was the son of the man. His father acquired the piece originally from Pele. And he was Pele's personal limousine driver during the Euro 1996 tournament, which is just so cool in the UK. So he was his personal driver, and the story goes that Pele took a real liking to this gentleman's father, and just wanted to thanked him all the time, in a way that the seller believes was, genuine, not just a courtesy, but he really did connect with the driver, and that's clearly the case in him gifting him this and signing it twice and writing best wishes. It speaks to that relationship they had. But apparently his father, at the end of the tournament, on the last drive that Pele had with him, he took his pass off and signed the front, and then on the back then wrote best wishes, and then signed it again and gave it to him and thanked him so much for everything he did and all the driving and the relationship that they'd formed throughout the tournament. The son I was then confused why he'd be selling. I'm not going to lie. I am opportunistic at times with tickets. You know, it's you go, oh my god, I have to have this. The seller doesn't realize what they're having, therefore I can justify the price point. I'll have it. This wasn't one of those items. Everybody knows what this is. Mr. Palais on the front and double signed. He knew what it was, and I was curious as to why he was selling. He said that it was collecting dust in his drawer. He loved the story, and that meant more to him than the actual item itself. It's his father. He has that connection. He can tell that story for the rest of his life. And he wanted somebody to appreciate it for what it was, which makes it even more difficult to move on. Not that I wanted to, but I almost feel a responsibility with the pass now as well. This man wanted it to go to somebody that, you know, cherished it, and anyone would. You know, it's not like it's a piece of personally significant that nobody else would understand kind of memorabilia. But yeah, I do have that kind of, I almost feel like it's a moral responsibility to this man, because I do appreciate it for what it is. And it's something that will stay in the collection, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think if there was a parallel where my dad had met Pele, and there's no way this would go anywhere. And it is, unless, of course, I've said this before, but every item in my collection does have a price. Literally every single item, if I'm honest. But it would have to be at a price that most likely would be, for some of them, would be such a weird price for someone to pay. So say like My Chemical Romance, my favourite band of all time.
Yep.
And them unveiling their most famous album. I was at that show. You know, I've got my ticket for that show. If someone said, oh yeah, I'm going to give you thousands of thousands for it, would I take it? Yes, I would. But no one reasonably would give me that amount of money for that ticket. So therefore, it's pretty much unsellable, immovable. And it's interesting because I guess maybe this guy's not a collector in some ways, and all power to him in getting the money and stuff like that. But for me, it's not astounding because everyone is different. And some people don't have attachment to personal items. And like you say, clearly the story for him was enough and the memory. But there's no way on earth I would let this go if I was,
well, that's the thing.
If that was my dad.
I think if anything, it made me perhaps just sleep better at night, knowing that for him the story was enough. Because although I love having it in my collection, it's easily one of my favorite pieces. There's that undertone of guilt, like it feels like it belongs to his family. Like it wasn't gifted to me, Christian Panaretos, in Brisbane, Australia, on the other side of the world. So to hear the fact that the story is what means something to him and not the past. Personally, like you said, I don't get that. Maybe that's because, I'm on a ticket slab, podcast with you now. So the fact that, or YouTube video, so the fact that I don't get that speaks to my bias. But still, I struggle to understand it. I love that the story's enough, but yeah, I do feel that duty almost. So it will be in my collection for a very long time.
It's very interesting as well, actually, this, because it was a big tournament. Obviously, it's a tournament that's remembered incredibly fondly in this country. But also, I was at the final of Euro '96 as a 6-year-old, and I was also at a few of the England games, including the Southgate penalty and stuff. I was there. But another thing which I've never said is there was a big moment before one of the games, and I can't remember what game it was. It may have been before the quarterfinal in Spain. But the old Wembley, the two towers, the twin towers, there was like a balcony. There was a balcony, and you could kind of go out. And there was this moment. I was 6, so I didn't understand the gravitas and things. It's amazing as well. Your items evoke these things within me. But so my dad and our two best family friends, our best family friends, and I don't think the youngest son was there because he was only 4, but the elder son and the dad, and they're like, we're there, and Pele's coming out onto the balcony. I was like, who's Pele?
Wow.
So Pele came out. And he started waving at everyone like this king. He was like waving at everyone, and everyone went absolutely mental. And that was my very first experience with Pele. So it's amazing because he probably will have had this pass on him at Wembley Stadium when he did that. It was a few hours before the match. I think it was the Spain quarter-final because the Germany match was at night. It must have been the Spain game, the quarter-final. And he came out. I remember him. He was in like a black suit. I remember him. And he just came out and waved, just like, you know, like as in that thing. He just was like waving to everyone for a few minutes. He just came out. It was just
Bizarre.
so incredible. And just, it's amazing you see this item because I remember that moment so vividly because... So it's like, yeah, I saw Pele live because he was at that, he was there. And I think, if I'm honest, I think that was the first time I'd ever heard of Pele. Because as a 6-year-old, I was very into Manchester United, but hadn't gone quite into Pele and Maradona, which didn't take long because you start being really interested in, the 1,000 goals and all this stuff. But yeah, so seeing this item, I knew that I wanted to almost talk about this because it was like, an amazing moment when you see this guy and there's this little small thing on the balcony. He's like waving, and you see like in England. I mean, obviously England are a country of football lovers, but how like mental everyone was going when Pele came out. It was amazing. It was an amazing moment, and yeah. So even though it's your episode, it's thank you for letting me have this moment where I remember as a 6-year-old.
I love that.
Yeah. Being there, and he would have probably had this pass on him at the time around his neck or something. That's
it's waving at you again, you know, all these years later from Australia. It's crazy.
Yeah, so an amazing item, and yeah, I mean, I'm glad you have it. Like I've said, would I let this go? No, but I'm sure, you know, everyone's got their own personal opinions and circumstances. Some people, I mean, that's how we get these items, you know, because you know, like. Some of the tickets I've got, if I'd been at that event, would I let it go for the price that I've acquired it at? No, I wouldn't. Probably and they're the ones, like you say, there's the opportunistic component, which I don't like talking about because I feel it's a bit exploitative sometimes. But when it's like when someone knows what it is, it's fine. But then it's like, I wouldn't let this go. Well, that's why I'm buying it. But I wouldn't let this go for the price that I'm getting it at. In no way, if I was there.
To me, it's priceless without the family connection. So, well, as you said, not priceless effectively, right? Everything does have a price within the connection, but near enough. Like, and I have none of that connection. But anyway, yeah, I'm just glad, very glad to have it.
Yeah. And he was probably wearing that when 6-year-old me saw this guy just wave that he'd never heard of. That he was just like waving. I remember he came out. It's mental. Everyone went absolutely mental. So yeah, great story. And so now we're moving on actually to, I guess I feel like with your choices and your items, it's kind of like we're 5 down. And that was like the main set. That was the main set. And now you've gone off stage and you're coming out now for the encore, but you're going to play some... You're going to play some songs, some deep dives that the fans don't really know. And, you know, you're going to play some rare songs and we're going to go a bit off-piste. So I've really enjoyed the 5 items we've discussed, as I hope I've conveyed. But this encore was the section that I was really looking forward to because we're going to get a real insight into you and why this stuff means so much. So should we have a chat about your item number 6? And let's go for it. You're back on. You've changed. You're ready.
Time for some unreleased tracks. Let's do it. I couldn't have conveyed that better myself. It's the perfect analogy. It is a bit weird and wonderful, but that's why they're here, because they're wonderful to me. Probably still weird as well, so that's fine. So the first ticket is... I'll introduce it, actually. So we have the sport itself. Rugby league is a sport in Australia and the UK and New Zealand, many countries now. It's not as big as rugby union. It's a very similar game. But yeah, in Australia, it's absolutely huge. Rugby league is my favourite sport. Love my soccer, love my racing. But I think a product of the family I was born into, being Dragons, which is the team we're all obsessed with, Dragons fanatics, and living in the country we are absolutely obsessed with the Saints. So St George Illawarra Dragons are the team, the Saints or the Dragons. And this is a ticket from their first ever NRL Premiership win. So they won the competition. You can see it there, NRL Grand Final 2010. I don't know if that's clear. It should be okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the grand final ticket. And they were victorious. They beat the Sydney Roosters, so both New South Wales-based teams, not very far away from each other. But it was their first ever premiership. A lot of nostalgia. I was 14 years old at the time. I remember watching the game at home with my family, being very stressed, yelling at the TV, cheering louder than we ever have, watching our team finally make a grand final. We're not notoriously the best team. So this was a big deal when they won. They'd never won a premiership before. The teams actually was an amalgamation of two teams. So the current team is two teams joined together in 1999. One of the teams that joined was very successful, and one of the teams that joined was not very successful, and they formed the team that I love, the Dragons, in 99. So from 99 till 2010, they hadn't won the comp. They'd been in grand finals and lost, but they hadn't won the comp. So this was the biggest deal, them winning the premiership, and it just makes me so happy. Favourite sport, favourite team that I do support. It means a lot. So I bought the ticket raw. Obviously, it's still raw, unsigned is what I'm trying to say. And I thought I really want to get it signed. Like, I need one of the members of this team that I worship to sign that ticket, and make it, extra special. I was so nervous sending it. It's one of the first things I set a search alert for when I started collecting in 21, and I got it at the end of 24. So the search alert didn't ping for like 3-4 years. When it did, I bought it straight away. There were two. And my brother's just as crazy. So I said, one's yours, one's mine. We've got our Grail ticket. We've got them winning the comp. So to send mine away, I thought I'll do it through the mail. I live in Australia. This is an Australian team. It's not like the UK where there's millions and millions of people sending mail to these teams. They're not massively known. I'm sure I may be boring some viewers right now thinking, what the hell is this sport and team? But they're not that big of a deal. So I thought surely through the mail would have a better chance of being successful, given the fan mail they're getting would be so minuscule compared to some of the large sporting sides around the world. So very nervously, I put it in a normal envelope in the plastic with a stamp, no tracking either way, which is dumb. Like, thinking about it retrospectively, I should have just at least got tracking there to make sure it arrived. But either way, untracked, and just thought, cool, something I've sent that had a search alert for 3.5 years might not come back. The man that I sent it to is known as the super coach in the rugby league circles. He's the best coach ever. His name's Wayne Bennett. He's won multiple premierships at different clubs. His win percentage is, I think, the second best winning percentage as like a coach or a manager of all time. And that's especially impressive given he's been coaching for almost 20 years. That's compared to people that have coached for a couple of seasons. So he's got that winning percentage over that amount of time. It's insane. More than 20 years. He's been going since the 80s, 90s, 30 years. He's incredible. So I sent it to him because he got a new coaching job with the Sydney-based team. And I thought, it's pre-season. Surely they wouldn't be getting much mail at this point. They're training every day. They're flogging them doing fitness drills. Who's sending in? The team hasn't started playing good or poorly. There's going to be no happy or angry fan mail yet. And yeah, cut a long story short, thankfully got it back. He signed it, and he also wrote coach in brackets.
Nice.
Which I think is just such a cool touch. I didn't ask for it. I just wrote a message saying, look, I am such a humongous Dragons fan. Please sign this if you have the time. And the fact that he chose to write coach after, I just think is, so groovy.
And then Christian, when you got it back, so did you know what it was? Because did you kind of see what it was coming back, or how did you? The envelope, was it like, oh my god, this is my moment? What happened?
So I sent a few out, and all were labelled the same. Like, should have done it differently, so I knew which ticket was which coming back to get rid of the reveal and the anxiety in opening it. Because I thought rugby league and rugby union are two sports that I absolutely adore. They're my two favourite sports, and I have access to doing through the mail in Australia. So I thought I'll send out a lot. This was maybe one of tens I sent out, and my return address on the front of the envelope and even the stamps were the exact same. So everything I'm getting back, I actually don't know what's inside. There are some cool ones, but this is the one I wanted back more than any. So every time I'm opening it, I'm like, please be the Premiership, please be the Premiership. So yeah, I didn't know, but every time I was hoping it was it, and just elation when I opened it, it was. To see that he chose to write coach as well afterwards. It's a full ticket as well. It's got each stub. There are only 2 stubs on either side. And the Ticket Tech tickets, which Hamilton collectors will know from his debut, it's also a Ticket Tech ticket, they're really prone to fading. So the fact that this one isn't really faded, is even like the logo of the competition is still very prominent, is something that I'm extra happy about.
Amazing item. Amazing story as well, and that Wayne Bennett signed it and put that coach on himself. And like you say, and following 2010, how have the Dragons fared? Have they won any more since, or
abysmal? I still live in that decade and a half ago era, because I think we've made the fight. So there's 17 teams and there's a top 8 that make finals at the end of the year. It's not like Premier League whereby the winner, at the end of the year is just the one on top. We have a final system whereby the top 8 teams will play finals. And I think since 2010, when we won, we've made finals like twice or 3 times. So it hasn't made for happy viewing, which honestly creates more like nostalgia for that ticket, because it's like we were the best ones.
yeah,
so that's kind of cool.
No, yeah, it's interesting because of greatest wins and things and stuff that I've been at or witnessed. There are parallels to draw with Man United, but actually, it's actually not quite what I felt with this ticket, and it kind of really reminded me of a ticket which I'd love, which is the Cricket World Cup final 1996, when Sri Lanka beat Australia in Pakistan. Mm-hmm. Quite a hard ticket to find, and I do need to try a bit harder to find it, but it kind of really, your story and your what you said, really reminded me of that ticket when I was a lot younger. I was 6, but I just remember when, it didn't start off very well, the final. I didn't quite understand it at the time, but I remember when De Silva got in the groove and started spanking the Australian bowlers around, and I remember my dad, the way he was reacting. I remember the way he was reacting was just like every boundary was just like chasing down. They're chasing down this total, and it was a real core memory and a real core moment actually. And I always actually, it's interesting because again, stuff you don't think you're necessarily going to bring up, but there's always this, whenever I've done an exam, and luckily my exam life is maybe behind me now, but
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I didn't say that, so dig the needle in, but and I always draw this parallel of like, if it was the last exam or the last few moments, I'd message my dad, or like the last few questions and stuff, or of like a run. I'd always think of the run chase in '96 in Lahore. I'd always be like, this is Sri Lanka '96. This is the last bit. Yeah. This is it. Just stay calm. This is it. There's 30 runs to win. We can do it. Just nothing stupid. And that's what I always think of. And it's amazing how you end up, I guess what you said with your first item, the Lewis Hamilton item, when you say about the way that it's inspired you with the journey and things. And then it's funny how we use these events as parallels, as almost like analogies by which we can then take into our own life. So any exam is like Lahore '96. I always think of as the last bit.
Yeah, it's true. It's so fair. I like going back to that. Might probably you've got this amount of time, just do it. It's going to be done. You want to win it. You want the glory. Just it's temporary. It's not permanent. Kind of that struggle. That for me is probably 2004 final Euro, where Greece beat Portugal. It's like it's 90 minutes. It's 1 goal. We will shock the world if we win this. This ticket is similar to that, and the reason this isn't on it is because I think Andreas has beaten me on one of your previous episodes as one of his tickets, and I didn't want to repeat. being born in Greece and having a Greek background, that for me is that moment ticket. Like, this is the final. You just need to do it. This is very much the same, but summarising that moment that you're describing, it would either be Euro 2004 final or 2010 Dragons Premiership. So I like that.
Yeah, amazing ticket, amazing item, and I guess will this have to remain raw because I don't think PSA are going to be authenticating a Wayne Bennett anytime soon.
That's the problem. Because he is, the super coach, and he's been doing it for so long, there have been examples of trading cards that he's signed, like official trading card NRL select sets, they're called.
Interesting.
So I was thinking that my best bet might be showing a trade, like a few photos of trading cards. I don't know if any have been slabbed, but there's certainly much examples of raw ones. And because they had the deal with him, it's an authentic autograph because he signed the stickers that they then stick on. I was thinking that maybe providing a few of those from official sets might help me, but I definitely have had that debate in my head.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question, but in many ways, even though we obviously like grading, it's a bit of an afterthought with this item in particular, in the sense of you've got this item, it's not going anywhere. So
definitely,
it's an amazing item. And the next item, because this is a very interesting item as well, because you've obviously got the team component with this, but then this side really condenses down and dials down on a very personal connection with the next item. So should we have a chat about your item number 7?
I'd love to. So another aspect that I wanted to hit in my theoretical desert island was friends and family. Like most people, cornerstone, super important part of my life. I'd want to have a ticket that I could pick up and be reminded of people close to me, whether it's family, whether it's friends, but something to symbolise the people in my life that are important. So I've started actually collecting a few tickets like that. I think my partner will be annoyed that I'm not showing our first movie date ticket together, but that's okay. This is sport related. So
what did you see? What did you go and see?
So our first movie date was actually the most recent Hunger Games, which was start of last year, so not too long. But just having tickets that can symbolise a moment and something that's important personally, or symbolise a person or an event, I just think so great. But yeah, without rambling, I'm going to hop into this one. So this one is a ticket for the first professional try of my best mate, who's a rugby player for the Queensland Reds. So he plays for so I'm from the state of Queensland in Australia, and we have a super rugby competition, and our team is the Queensland Reds. And I'm sure he won't mind me saying his name's Ryan Smith. He's the lock for the Reds. And he was never too great at rugby. He was always good, but he never made... That's a lie. It's not that he's not good, but he never made the rep teams. He wasn't in the systems as a junior coming through. He wasn't the next big thing. He had to work very hard to get his spot. So we've really enjoyed the ride over the past 3-4 years, seeing him make it and do well. So this is from his first try. So he scored a try against the Waratahs, the New South Wales Waratahs. So it was the Queensland Reds against the New South Wales Waratahs. And it was a pass to the match. And he's actually signed it and written first try as well, a little inscription. I think I sent a photo to you in the beginning about just with him and all of his tickets, which is just awesome. Him at home, we went over and had a few beers, and I go, mate, I've actually got a bunch of your tickets that I've been collecting from some of your milestone matches, if I can get a hold of them. And he actually thought it was kind of cool, signed them for me, and I think he's actually keeping a lot of his passes now that he gets to go to games because he knows I love them. But just this symbolising friends and family, and knowing that our hobby, as opposed to something like cards or whatever, you can get something and collect something and even grade something that's so personal to you and no one else. I just love that. So when I pick it up, I think of my friends, my family, and it's just happy memories. I love it.
Yeah, and was that something, because obviously Ryan's a big part of your life. He's your best friend, you mentioned. Did you try and start collecting his stuff straight away, or what happened with that?
Yeah, so because he debuted rather late, I was already into tickets at this stage, and I thought, how cool is this? I get to collect milestones or debuts of my mate. Sadly, the Queensland Reds don't do paper tickets. They do season passes and e-tickets for individual matches. So one of my other favourite tickets that I'm not showing is actually a season pass that was valid for his debut. But this was actually a match day pass, so for an individual match. You can see down the bottom of this movie.
Yes, yeah.
You can see match day pass, and it's dated as well. So I like this ticket because it was for an individual match as opposed to a season pass that's valid for something. It has that connection to the match, and being a lock forward, he's not notorious for try scoring. So to score the winning try in a match as his first professional try, I just thought was brilliant. It was in New South Wales, so I didn't actually go down to the match. I was watching the match from home. I mean, everybody knows Australia's massive. This match was about over 1,000 kilometres south from me, so it's a mile away. I pretty much go to every home game, but I didn't go to this away game. And as soon as he scored, I went, classic. I can't get a season pass valid for his debut from a home match. I need to somehow find a New South Welshman or woman that has either a season pass or went to the match. Like, what a mission to find his first try. So I ended up just searching on Instagram, and I searched by location, so I searched by the stadium.
Yeah.
And I managed to find a photo of a trainer with his child. And they were, after the match, the Reds won, but he was posing for a photo with his 3-4-year-old son. And they were given thumbs up after the match. They had their arm around and thumbs up. And they were both wearing passes. And I thought, okay, this is a random round match. It's a round robin match. It's not a final. I don't know if it's a debut of one of their family members. I didn't think that any Waratahs players were debuting or whatever. But I thought, this in all likelihood is going to be something that they discard and forget about. So I sent a message just inquiring. I said, hey, mate, not trying to be a weirdo, but you do sound like a weirdo, don't you?
You have to preface with stuff
just
like that.
do. I know.
Because it's just it's the most random thing. Like, who is this person?
I want a piece of paper that you have, right? You're odd. No matter how you preface it, you are a weirdo. I tried to sound as least, weird as possible, but I did give him the background story and say, look, I just want the milestone. It is my best mate. He scored his first professional try. I couldn't get down there for the match, but I would absolutely love to have a memento or a souvenir to symbolise, one day show his kids and family, gift it to them as well, potentially. Yeah. To say, this was when your old man was playing rugby professionally and scored his first try. And the trainer was lovely. He was an absolute legend. He goes, mate, please have it. That's amazing that your mate's playing. He goes, I'll actually send my sons as well, so then you can keep one. You don't just need to give one to him. So amazing. This is one of them. I just picked a random one to show you. I've got the other one upstairs. It's got all the details about the fixture and access for the pass as well on the back. But the fact that I can keep one too and give one to him is just extra special. And the gent who sent it, the trainer, sent some Waratahs key rings, some stickers as well, because of that personal connection. He really wanted to help me out and love the story. So it's just really cool. It reminds me of my friends and my family. Yeah, one of my favourite things. Amazing
item, and obviously the location search is something which is a tactic in trying to get things. But this is such a it's kind of like when you hear about the location searches, it's often been for like obvious debuts or stuff like that when people are trying to get stuff, and this is amazing. I mean, because with that, I know, and I don't want to say anything nasty about people, or not about anyone in particular, obviously, but it's always like there's an undercurrent of when someone's trying to get that, they're trying to get like an Hendrick debut or it's always like you're trying to like put a fast one in some way. You're trying to like get something for probably under market value, but with an item like this, it's so pure. It's just just like there's such a purity there where it's just like, and probably receiving that message, it was an honor for him to be able to help you, because the greatest honor is often being able to help someone else and asking someone for help, because it's like, that's what they always say with advice in life and things. It's like, ask someone for help, because most of the time people want to help. It's just the problem is asking, actually.
That's right.
And I mean, it must have been amazing. He probably, when you first start reading this, you probably what?
Yeah.
But then you're like, wow, this is an amazing story.
Yeah, he was all too happy to help, and like not only the response I got, but obviously what he included in the little package he sent back was indicative of the fact that he was all too happy to help me. As you've said, so amazing.
Yeah.
And even my mate Ryan Smithy, he's been super helpful in acquiring other autographs from me. I annoyed him at one stage, actually. It was quite a famous Australian rugby player by the name of Tim Horan, who's now a sideline reporter in Australia. He never comes over and sees the fans, and I had a 91 Rugby World Cup final ticket. Yeah, he was a legend of that team. So Ryan came over to say hey after a match, and I said, oh, mate, do you reckon, would Tim think it's weird? I don't want you, Tim to think you're weird, because you're the one that's going to do it for me, but is there any chance you could take this Rugby World Cup final ticket over? He doesn't look like he's doing anything. I've got a Sharpie at the ready. Do you reckon he could sign it? Smithy's a legend. Yeah, no worries, mate. He'll be fine. So it goes over. Tim is like, wow, this is awesome. Signs it for me. So it's cool to be, in the sort of involved in the rugby spheres and just see behind the scenes. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's a amazing item, and the fact that Ryan signed it for you, probably not the hardest signature for you to obtain, one would say, but amazing. And the story behind the acquisition of it is amazing, and the fact you've got two, which is really nice, because you probably would have given him it. Even though even if you only had one and he had it, it's a bit arbitrary, isn't it? Like, he has it, who cares? It's in possession of
we have it, absolutely,
the group, and but amazing story. And I guess the last item I said about the encore, and we're going to stick with the rugby theme, but I guess we are gonna hit a big one at the end. We've saved one hit, and the hit, probably one of the most famous songs, and but we are going to stay on rugby. And this for me probably is the item I like the most, that you're going to present, because it's amazing. So yeah, shall we have a chat about your the final item of Panaslabs? It's flown by, but let's go out with a bang.
Great. So the last item I can actually say, James, you were my inspiration for this. Saw that you were collecting your Johnny Wilkinson debuts and even your South African tickets as well, and I thought, what an excellent idea. So I cannot take the credit for this. You would definitely, and Jimmy as well in the group, have probably been my rugby inspirations to really allow me to get out and chase what I love. So thank you. The item I have, the last item, is the 1995 Rugby World Cup final, where South Africa beat the All Blacks. The movie made about it, Invictus, is quite a well-known one with Matt Damon and name evades me now.
Morgan Freeman,
thank you. Absolute blank there. Playing Nelson Mandela, of course. So it's even in pop culture, a rugby match has become so big, so important. But just to find a ticket to the final is amazing. But the fact that Francois Pienaar has signed this one, for me, makes this one extra special. He's got such a lovely autograph.
Yeah.
And his relationship as well with Mandela, and just the story behind the unification of South Africa post-apartheid, using sport, and Mandela and Pienaar central to that amazing narrative. I just love it. I really do. As I said, the fact that Francois signed it is just makes it extra special. But after seeing yours, I just wanted the ticket. I just wanted the ticket as well. I love the film. I love the story. It is probably the rugby league or union moment that transcends the sport, in terms of socially, politically, and pop culture wise. So I had to have it. Yeah, signed or unsigned.
And I think with this ticket, for me, it's kind of because earlier I said I don't really collect pop culture items, or when they transcend into sort of pop culture, but I do, almost paradoxically in some ways, I prioritize those events within sport that transcend into the pop culture.
Unidirectional.
Exactly, where they just take on this whole other meaning. And I never like, oh, this is objectively an amazing event. And we've seen it before when people try and peddle stuff like, you know, Hand of God being the best football ticket. And so it's like everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I don't. It's quite reductive to be like, this is the best. There are many different factors that go into it. But for me, with this, the Invictus final ticket is what I call it. This was one of those that I really, when I came into the hobby, this was one of those items that I really, really wanted, like in my top 10. And then it's sad in a way, in some ways in life, and maybe it shows you the transience of emotions and feelings, and you just find something else you want, because, you know, I managed, and because this ticket was quite hard to find as well at the time in 2020. It was quite a tricky ticket to find. They are out there, but it's some a bit different. But this was one, like you say, it was so important. It was just such a big event, and
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. And the fact this has been signed by Francois Pienaar is just incredible. I'm on the lookout for an unused now, if I can get one.
Yeah, super hard to find, yeah.
Yeah, like I know what they look like, in the sense that I've seen the unused tickets to this event, this World Cup, with the white tabs and stuff on them. But I don't think I've seen an unused final one. I'm not sure I have. Maybe I have once. I think I maybe have once. But
I mean, an iconic tournament. Like Jonah Lomu's Rugby World Cup debut, his, you know, absolutely amazing match against England, unfortunately. It's so famous. You know, it's the World Cup itself is iconic, and I think it was the perfect crescendo at the end, involving Nelson and Francois, and his autograph as well is just gorgeous. It's such a nice signature. This one actually popped up on Australian eBay. An Aussie had it in Queensland, which is bonkers. He knew Francois Pienaar's personal assistant from years ago. He sent original photographs and jerseys to get signed, and had two of these, his original tickets to the Rugby World Cup. And he asked his personal assistant if she was in fact still Francois Pienaar's personal assistant. And she said, yes, I am. He does talk. I think he does talks now. He's obviously a massive public figure, legend. And she said, I am. And he sent two tickets over, and pretty much planned to sell one and keep one. And when it hit eBay, I was like, my goodness. He's got a very difficult autograph to plagiarize, Francois. It's quite detailed.
Yeah, it's a very interesting autograph.
It's very intricate. So he actually provided the email correspondence he had with Pienaar's personal assistant, discussing years ago getting the signing done, which I thought was great as well, super cool. But when it went up, I knew I had to have it. I just wanted the ticket itself. Like I said, signed or unsigned, I didn't care. I didn't even think I could get it signed until this one popped up. But it was at a price point I could afford, and I knew it had been up for a matter of hours. I didn't get a ping search. I just searched for rugby tickets in general. And I actually found it shortly before I was going to bed, and it had been listed not too long in Australia. And I knew that while I was sleeping, the rest of the world would be awake. And there was a great chance that if I didn't buy this, it would be gone when I woke up. And I think for what it is, it was at an attractive price point. And it was still, like, for me as a student, I guess it was a lot to outlay. So I was just tossing up, like, back and forth with myself. Do I buy it? Do I leave it? Should I send an offer? Because it had make an offer. And I thought, no, I've done this before. Like, I'll make an offer and then it'll say, you know, offer expired or unsuccessful, because it's just been bought outright.
Yeah.
So I just bit the bullet. I bought it. And then in the days after, I had messages from Raymond, who love Raymond. Shout out quickly. He's a legend. He's our reshipper for the UK. He's just an amazing guy. And Jimmy as well. Just from the group. They both said, you know, was that you? Did you buy it? Because they were looking at purchasing it as well. So I'm just glad I pulled the trigger when I did. It would have been great if it ended in the Discord. Either way, it sounded like it was going to, but I'm just glad I sort of didn't play the waiting game, and I did get it. I guess sorry to those guys, I'm not trying to rub it in, I'm just telling the story here. But
no.
They're legends, and they've helped me with my rugby collection. But I guess it was sought after, so to be able to get it, I'm really relieved, and
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't see this. I was probably gone while I was asleep or something because I would have bought this item if I'd
Yeah.
seen it. Without any. We won't talk about prices, but I kind of know the price it was, and it
Yeah.
it it. I would have done. It would have been one of those auto, but as in, I wasn't looking to buy that. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I had this on my bingo sheet today, bingo card today, but it would have been
Yeah.
like, yeah, I have
Exactly.
to. I'm buying this right now. It's not up for
Yeah.
debate. And yeah, it truly is an amazing item, and I do like the ticket design with the South African flag as well.
Yeah, me too.
Uh,
It's rather pretty, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
it is pretty. I've never, because when I first got some Rugby World Cup '95 tickets, I never quite understood. I always thought they were like a bit dirtied, but they've kind of got the impression marks and the white things, and I never really have worked out what they actually are properly. The designs, and I've tried to work out numerous times what it is, because obviously the first time you get it, as I just said, I thought that was like, and the bigger picture, I thought that was
Yeah.
like dirt marks and stuff like
Because
that.
it looks it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's a watermark of sorts, but I can't put my finger on it. I have studied it at length, and I just don't like put a light behind it too, trying to see the watermark clearer. I'm not sure. It looks dirty, but it genuinely is not. It's the funky
yeah.
watermark they've got going on.
Yeah, I think my guess is it's rugby being played is my guess. It is what I would probably think it is. It's probably a guess of it, and I'd probably have to cross reference with, say, the. I love the program as well. I don't know if you've seen the program or got the program, but it's really nice. It's
Yeah,
like gold. It's just really, really a nice program actually. Um, and yeah, the one I got is again, it was a very interesting story actually. It was basically it was on, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like, was it Bid or Buy South Africa? This is like early days of me looking for tickets when you obviously go on the,
yeah,
and this is what you said almost, we didn't speak so much about it, but the skills you learn and stuff, like I think it was Bid or Buy, and someone posted a lot of, it was a few months before, because only of like Rugby World Cup '95 items,
Mm.
and I was, and I kind of got talking to it because it was there posted, it was still active, and I was like, is he? And I was just, I was literally there, and I like messaged him, and I was like, okay, like you've listed these items, because it was basically like loads of stuff from the era, like all his tickets to the matches he went, all like Sports Illustrated like things and stuff like that. So I had a similar conversation with you in the sense of the Pele, where I was like, why are you selling it?
yeah,
Like, what's the reason? So because he had a fixed price there, which sounded very reasonable, and I wasn't going to barter him down, but I was like, why are you selling it? Because he basically like sent me, yeah, and so I asked him, and he's like, oh, he actually has chronic leukemia, and he needed to pay for his treatment and stuff like that. So I mean, this is a story I haven't said, and I probably wasn't
yeah,
planning to necessarily say on the channel, but and he had to pay for it. So this is one of those things where it was like there was a real circumstance there
yeah.
of which he had to sell these items that were obviously close to him, and so yeah, I obviously paid the full asking price. I'm not a saint. But I
Definitely
did
no
actually,
bartering after that conversation.
well, I wasn't going to buy. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not a big barterer anyway.
Yeah,
If it's a price that I like, I don't try and save extra money. And I actually ended up, not because I'm a saint, but I actually ended up giving him a bit more actually. But I just thought this is such a great story. And then we ended up talking quite a lot about 4 years ago now for a while, and he basically like wrote out his personal recollections of the event, like on a PDF for me, like the story of the day and everything. And I haven't shared it because I don't think it's really, I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing it. But it is a really nice story and goes into sort of what ticket collecting is, and the hobby is and can be.
for sure.
So yeah, amazing item. And the final ticket was the thing that I wanted but it was the whole lot that I got of everything. And he even sent me some, like, he was living in Kenya at the time. He even sent me some Kenyan coffee with it. It was just the most random thing. It was just like, yeah, he just sent me all this stuff.
But that's lovely. It's a
yeah,
connection now between you and him, as you said, and I think it would be a shame if the story was told or those PDFs were shared because it is personal between you and him. I think that's rather lovely.
no, exactly. And the event itself, obviously, you alluded to it. The final was a huge event in South Africa, and like you say, the World Cup was the birth of Jonah Lomu. So it's just like all the bursting onto the scene of Jonah Lomu, and it's just a massive tournament, and something which, I think, even if, so to be fair, I'm not actually. It's interesting you said that about that inspiring you with rugby, because I'm not actually the biggest rugby fan. I do like it, but I'm not, like, I watch the Six Nations and stuff, but I'm not like a huge rugby fan. But there are some things, like, say, Jonah Lomu, Johnny Wilkinson, like, I loved when I was younger, like, playing Jonah Lomu rugby on PlayStation. It's an amazing game.
Yeah.
Winning the World Cup in 2003 with Johnny. So that was something that, one of the first things that when I entered the hobby, I looked for: the World Cup 95, the England-New Zealand ticket. And then, the World Cup 2003, Johnny Wilkinson rookies, because obviously no one's looking for Johnny Wilkinson rookies or anything like that. So then finding his stickers and, like, these foil stickers and stuff, it's amazing. And yeah, it's a really interesting story about these huge events, like culturally significant events. And
I mean, seeing Mandela in a Springboks jersey presenting that World Cup, which was only years prior, and even probably at that time still a symbol of white South Africa, rugby. And seeing Mandela himself wearing it and presenting the jersey, I think it's just such a powerful image that even, like, across any sport, I just have ingrained. So it's something I had to chase.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's kind of like, with each sport, if you were having a representative of each ticket, I mean, I'm not saying a objective choice, but this would be my choice for rugby, and I think it would be a lot of people's choice for rugby, in the same way that, maybe, I don't know, like Battle of the Sexes would be for tennis or something. You know what I mean? Something like that. Mm-hmm. It'd just be like, this is very representative of sport and the political climate at the time, and the PDF shared with me about, like, the racism, the undertone, well, not even undertones of racism, like proper overt racism. But yeah, it's amazing item. It's really, and I think, like you say, I mean, it'd be amazing if you just squiggled, like, FP. But his signature really is something quite special as well, isn't it?
It's really nice. Yeah, show it once more. It's a really nice signature, and I love as well. We talked about the design, but him signing it on the South African flag too. It's it hits that patriotism, and I think really speaks to the moment as well. So
yeah. Amazing, and a good story as well, and also a good lesson, in the sense that, because we've all made those mistakes of waiting stuff, like, early on. It's like just waiting, but then you're like, what was I even waiting for? I don't even know what I was waiting for, like, because I knew that I wanted it, or, like, you kind of have to do this thing yourself where you start analysing. But I mean, I'm glad you pulled the trigger. Amazing item, an amazing way to finish as well. Amazing way to finish with the items, and I
appreciate it.
It's flown by, it's absolutely flown by. We've gone through 8 items.
Thank you.
We've got a real insight into you. We've seen, like, some Formula One. We've seen some weirder Formula One go-karty stuff. We've seen some Elton John. We've seen Pele, Zico, and then we finished with, like, an encore of rugby related, and hitting with a big Living on a Prayer finish at the end. So Yeah, I've had an amazing time, Chris. Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, it's been a while in the works. We knew that this was going to happen for quite a long time, but I hope the viewers and listeners enjoy this as much as I have. For sure, it's been a great time.
Yeah, the pleasure's mine. Like I said, keenly watch the episode, so to be a part of it is super. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And do you have any like final words, thoughts, concluding remarks on anything, or anything you feel you haven't said, or you want to summarize or talk about anything like that at all?
I think I've summarised, yeah, pretty much every ticket that I want to rather well. I guess just in general, it's the old adage, isn't it? Just collect what you love. The market is changing so crazily at the moment. I'm not trying to focus on the financial side of things, but there's a lot of people are put off in terms of ticket collecting, and for those maybe traditional non-ticket collectors that are watching that are thinking about hopping in, you really can't lose if you get, more the stuff towards the end of what I've discussed. I don't care what I've paid or what that's worth or what somebody would give me within reason. They're the ones that will always stay. So I think if you're thinking about hopping into tickets, try and hit that nostalgia, that personal collection. Obviously go for the grails if you can, but it's the part I love most about our little niche hobby.
Yeah, and I think that's I agree in the sense that I end up with tickets and cards. It's a bit like dogs and cats in the sense that sometimes you feel like you should choose one, but I love both. I really, really love both. Like if you put like a gun to my head, I'd say I prefer dogs. I do just. And I kind of feel the same. I think tickets are my dogs. I think I kind of do feel the same about tickets, but I love cards. Like I absolutely love cards as well, to be honest. But I agree in the sense that I think the best way to approach collecting is to, I mean, it sounds very, very fuddy-duddy, but to know who you are and what you like before you do it, and then before you then know what you want to collect and what you want to prioritize and what's important to you, rather than going for what maybe people tell you to buy or what tell you to collect. And I think if I was to say something between tickets and cards, it's easier to do that in tickets and find your own path because you almost have more scope and things, I would say, and you can really dial in on events. And in cards, that's not always quite so possible. It's my personal experience from it, but
completely agree.
Yeah, I love them both, just like I love cats and dogs, pretty much equally, and they go together. I love cats and dogs. But anyway, Christian, thank you so much for coming on. It's probably very late in Australia now.
Pleasure, yeah, a little bit. I've got placement tomorrow, so I best be off. But thank you so much.
But no, thank you. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much to Christian for being an amazing guest on this episode of Desert Island Slabs. And thank you so much to yourselves for watching or listening. We're moving through season 2 of Desert Island Slabs with our weekly release schedule. And I thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to be a guest on a future season of Desert Island Slabs, or you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the comments section below. And if you could subscribe to the channel, I'd really, really appreciate it. But probably if you're this far along in the episode, you probably are already a subscriber. And if you're not, please subscribe. Although I'm not going to, I don't really like saying like subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, but it actually does. And it's really cool to see the count going up slightly as well. But this is a pure passion project, love project for me. And I hope that I am giving you some value with my guests that I have handpicked, and this has been another amazing episode. Thank you so much for watching. So it's goodbye from me, and goodbye from Christian.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, James. See you guys.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.